Do or die week. I feel like a lot of teams are either at that 6-7, 7-6 mark, fighting for the playoffs, potential scoring coming into play for tiebreakers. I love it. Great week to be a fantasy football fan, and great as always to get Ricky Larson, Lucky Shots Media, on with us to talk about it. Let's dive right in. Raiders, Rams, could be a fantasy bonanza, except we've got John Wolford. Rams, we have. I thought Kyron Williams was going to be a good play. It wasn't. All of a sudden, as they went back to Akers, now I'm wondering, is Akers a play? Raiders, we know Josh Jacobs is single-handedly bringing Ricky back into fantasy contention. Devontae Adams is having a huge week. What's the fantasy analysis for Thursday Night Football?
Just the fact that it's Thursday night football is the yikes. But I think offensively, uh, offensively, for the Raiders, you can kind of go across the board. I think dear Lord, even Foster Moreau, I think you could probably plug him in as well. Um, but for sure, Jacobs.
Yep.
Dear God, sorry, got a lot going on. There we go. So Jacobs for sure, Adams for sure. Is there anybody on a bye this week?
I think there are are there a bunch or are there not many? I could tell
Yeah,
you
there
the
are buys. I know there are buys. I had to
Falcons,
place
yuck.
people. There we go.
Falcons, Bears, Packers. So if you need someone for Rodgers, there's no quarter. Falcons, Bears, Packers, Colts, Saints, Commanders. I don't think anyone has a quarterback missing in their lineup. Hopefully,
You might, Justin Fields possibly.
sure,
Um,
sure.
so Derek Carr, maybe, go for it. I don't know what the hell they are doing underneath me, but they're doing some construction or something. It's banging all around. But yeah, I think if you really need to, and there's not really many other options, Derek Carr might be a decent play. If you're right on that fringe, though, eh, maybe we'll get later and talk about other streaming quarterbacks, but
Sure.
Derek Carr, maybe.
Right, he's right on the fringe right now. I mean, the Rams are no slouch. I think what is this total in this game? I think it might be 44.5. Could be an ugly game, which might be more of just a run first game. Who knows? It should be interesting. Deeper leagues, maybe Mac Hollins, but yeah, Van Jefferson I think's been terrible. He's too short yardage. I think he can't come off the bench. And then really, yeah, nobody else. Tutu Atwell in a dynasty league I have on like a taxi squad. He's like 7 point. Like, is he nice to watch? He could, but he's too boomer bust. I feel like as a deep
Well,
route.
and didn't Baker just get signed to the Rams?
He did. And Wolford's got a neck injury. I think it would be too quick for Baker to make that turnaround start because they would either go Perkins, but
Yeah, yeah, it's something to think about. Maybe not this week, but maybe next week. There's got to be a reason they brought him in.
yeah,
So
keep an eye on it for sure. All right, let's talk about a funner matchup here, fantasy wise. Vikings Lions feast. It feels like a Thanksgiving game. Okay, so we're going Jay Jettas. Thielen, I think's a sneaky play. I've got him in DFS. Check out the Lucky Bets podcast that we did this week for Ricky's show. And then obviously Amon-Ra St. Brown. You've got the Lions backfield. What do we got for this matchup?
uh, pretty much everyone,
Yeah.
because on the other side you got Dalvin Cook. Possibly Alexander Madison gets mixed in a little bit. Uh, but that's a more straightforward backfield than the Detroit backfield.
Yeah.
Swift has been getting more and more involved, which I'd love to see, but for the most part, you get down, like you said earlier, to the 1 yard line, and it's
Yeah.
Jamal Williams getting 8 1 yard line touchdowns.
Yep.
And then honestly, I just feel like I'm hating on Adam Thielen all the time. But if I was to go another wide receiver from Minnesota, it'd be KJ Osborne.
Okay.
Just he's out there quite a bit. Another one of those kind of slot receivers, quick, just either in slants, maybe some quick outs. Very quick receiver. think he's got more pop than Adam Thielen.
Jared, yeah, agreed. Thielen, I'm just playing from he likes Detroit. Total's crazy, expect a lot of points. Cook was supposed to have a bad game against Buffalo. He went off. So hopefully he's going to continue that trend as well. Goff's a great streaming option, I think, if you're desperate. Cousins expected to have a great game. What else we got here? Jameson Williams, I'd keep as a stash. I'm just interested to see is what he didn't do anything, maybe more playing time this week. And maybe that's a guy that helps you in the playoffs. If you have a roster spot, maybe expend it.
Very possibly, might be a smarter stash than OBJ. I've been stashing OBJ for a few weeks now, and still nothing has happened.
Now he's falling asleep on planes.
He's not even going to work out for teams.
There was a report today that said the Cowboys are worried he's not fully back.
Yeah, because if you're not going to work out for teams, what are they supposed to expect? Are you coming off of a big time injury?
Yep.
So it doesn't make sense to me. Where was I going with this before I went off on OBJ? I don't know.
A stash candidate, Jameson.
Yep, that's about all I had something on my brain before we went into that conversation, and then get riled up about OBJ. So
OBJ strikes again. All right, well, I get riled up about both these backfields. Jets, Bills, Singletary, Cook. Is Cook all of a sudden the guy? Interesting. Josh Allen, you're starting. Jets, Mike White is the guy. Michael Carter, is he going to be back? Zonovan White was nice plug and play. Ty Johnson was getting reps. Just confusion, but a guy that you're loving is Garrett Wilson.
Oh, for sure. Past 2 weeks, 20 points per game. What's not to love? And if it's again Mike White, then again, I love to roll out Garrett Wilson. Just get him the ball. He had 8 catches for 162 yards last week. Just keep rolling this guy out. Keep rolling out Mike White. Do I think they can win this game? Not a shot, but the Buffalo secondary is a little susceptible. They've got injuries back there. There's a possibility to get some big plays. Hopefully a couple at least from Garrett Wilson. But on the other side, honestly, Singletary has been a shocker to me this season, going out, and now they can put together a different kind of run game than just Josh Allen doing absolutely everything. James Cook, he, very first touch of his career, fumbled the football.
Yeah.
Kind of got sent to the doghouse. He's relevant now. He's getting in there on a lot of what's the damn word I want to use? He's just getting a lot of opportunities now. So
sure.
I like it. He's a definite flex possibility. But I think Singletary, you can still argue that you could put him in at a running back 2 spot.
Yeah, he needs a touchdown. He's still getting the work. Cook and deeper. I had him on a bench, picked him up. I should have started him. Don't think it would have mattered. My team is so ass. But I'm starting him this week. James Cook, that is. Singletary in a deep league, I'm starting. I traded for him, and again, I'm kind of just holding my breath that he keeps on, scoring. He's been fine. He's been solid. Start Diggs. Let's see here. 44 points for the total. I wonder if maybe it's a low-scoring affair, but you never know. And are we starting to get away from Gabe Davis? Been a frustrating last 3 weeks.
It just depends. I think this week you probably steer away because the Jets defense has pretty dang good secondary, and depending on what side whoever lines up on, they're going to have Sauce Gardner over there, and he's proving to probably be the defensive rookie of the year. Aiden Hutchinson is knocking on the door saying I have something to say about that, but pretty dang impressive. Especially for a rookie. So Gabe Davis, I'd probably steer away from. If you're looking at that second receiver, if you're not liking Gabe Davis, maybe Isaiah McKenzie. But that one's totally touchdown dependent, by my opinion.
Agreed. Browns Bengals. Oh, the rust of Deshaun Watson. I mean, I don't think you should panic and drop him, but if you started him, yikes, he might have to go to the bench. But if you're stuck in a jam, like I had Kyler Murray on a bye, so I threw Deshaun in there. Yikes. But another, I chose to go Geno over Deshaun, and that paid dividends immediately. But I'm not dropping Deshaun just yet. I'm just, we'll see. Other than that, you're starting Joe Burrow, and then keep an eye on Mixon or P. Ryan. You're starting one or the other, depending on health of Joe Mixon. And Jamar Chase is back. T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd still finding relevant work. Should be a fun game here in the division.
Yeah, I think T. Higgins is going to be okay. I think Tyler Boyd, he's going to kind of take that back seat to both of those guys. P. Ryan, how about a backup running back?
Love him.
Just, we've seen every year we see some running back that is a backup come in and just play really well when the starter's out. This year it's P. Ryan. So like you said, if Mixon's out, you can start P. Ryan. If Mixon's in, you can probably still start P. Ryan, to be honest.
He's getting some
see
work.
What happens. For Cleveland, I think you're fine starting Nick Chubb.
Yep.
Most of his work's going to come in the first half before they get routed. I don't know if I want to touch much else out of that. Maybe, you can get behind Amari Cooper and David Njoku if you think that Deshaun is going to get it figured out this week. But it's going to be tough defense. So I might steer away from those two.
Donovan Peoples-Jones was a guy you could rely on in deep leagues, and he had a punt return for a touchdown or a kickoff return or something, but he's starting to get, again, it's all dependent on what's going on with freaking Watson, right?
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah, Chubb's kind of been boom or bust the last 4 weeks, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense with the kind of games they've been in. It just depends on how they need to utilize them.
Sure.
So this week, I think, it's going to be, if he's got to get a lot in the first half to really make it worthwhile.
The most bizarre phenomena of the fantasy season, the Texans are like the best against quarterbacks. It's mostly because, they're getting blown out and people just run it. But whatever, people are thinking Deshaun Watson 20+ points, he gets 4. So that just adds on to and the Texans got crushed. It's crazy. But it was mostly because of the defense. It was a close game. I don't understand it. So are you worried about Dak Prescott? Are you worried about the Cowboys offense, which is averaging, minus the defensive touchdowns, 35 points per game since Dak's return? So that's just on offense. Zeke's eating, Pollard's eating, Lamb's eating, Gallup is turned into something. Schultz is resurrected. Could be a good one here in Texas.
Yeah. I'm going everybody. If I could build the perfect fantasy team this week, it would be all Dallas Cowboys.
This game,
that's what we're going with. Both running back spots filled. And on the other side, I think I saw Davis Mills will be the starter for Houston. Doesn't really matter. I think the only thing you can even think about touching is Houston, or Dameon Pierce for Houston.
Yep.
That would be about as far as I could go.
Yeah, agreed. Pierce, he's been bitten by not getting much touchdowns. Texans aren't scoring much. Nico Collins Nico Collins is the Spider-Man meme to Donovan Peoples-Jones. And it's like, I don't know if he was getting a ton of targets with Allen when they were still throwing in it, and he was solid with Mills too. But start the Cowboys DST. I think they're number 1. They've been dominant all year. That team's good, man. Dear God.
Yeah, I mean, once their offense fully gets it figured out, because I'm still not sold on the offense, but once they finally get it figured out, this defense is lethal. They're going to be a tough team to beat, and they could easily catch themselves back up to the Eagles.
Yuck, this game. Titans, Jaguars. I mean, Lawrence was set up to have a huge game. Now he's questionable and banged up. Tannehill's been like okay. He's been a good streaming option. Henry has fallen off a little bit. Christian Kirk has been a guy you've relied on, or you can rely on. Zay Jones, after popping off, came back down to earth. What's the read here?
I mean, I like Jacksonville in this game.
Yeah, same.
Uh, but how much of it do I love for fantasy? You know, it's ETN healthy. I just haven't seen much on ETN
Good question.
at all since, the first 2 weeks that he was by himself. But if he is healthy, I'll take him. I'll take Derrick Henry. I think it's going to be a close, ugly game. Going to be quite a bit of running involved. And that's really all I would be comfortable with. I'm taking Austin Hooper in my DFS. That's just because he's cheap. I don't really believe in it all that much. Maybe he gets a touchdown, but this is going to be just a garbage shoot of a game. I'll take both running backs, possibly take both defenses because these offenses could, try to run and throw some interceptions, fumble, something like that. So I'd be comfortable to play their defenses as well.
I like Kirk, Zay Jones. I think if you're desperate, drop Marvin Jones Jr., bench him, kill him. Well, don't kill him. Just bench him. Or drop him. Drop him probably.
And ETN is healthy, so.
Yeah, I mean, but he had a disappointing it was a weird game. The Lions just destroyed him. Maybe the Jaguars have to bounce back. All right, I think the Eagles are very fraudulent. I think the Giants are equally as fraudulent. Richie James. I mean, the Giants are disgusting. You're starting Barkley. Slayton, you're starting 2 in deeper leagues, shallower leagues if you're desperate. A.J. Brown just keeps on eating for the Eagles.
Yeah, and Slayton could have had a better game last week. Dropped a pretty big pass late in the game, I think it was. So he's honestly one that
I like Slayton. Yeah.
Maybe he is the guy that Daniel Jones wants to get the ball to, but he just isn't making it happen. So we could see with that. Eagles, you talked about AJ Brown. How about Devontae Smith having, these kind of just
heating up
pretty good games? Do I still believe in it? He's in my fantasy lineup. I've reluctantly been playing him, but do I believe in it? No, I'm just going to continue to not believe in it, set my expectations low. And if he goes and gets 20 points, hey, I'll be happy with that.
Right.
You're starting pretty much anybody on the Eagles side. You'll go with Hurts. You're going to go with Sanders. AJ Brown, I would start. I just said his name. Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, possibly if he's healthy. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, I think Goddard. We'll have to keep an eye on Goddard and Waller too. Waller might be coming back this week. They haven't said anything yet. Goddard might be next week, but obviously stash him if he's out there. Use that IR spot for another week if you have to. Starting Devontae for sure. Sanders is that's another guy you just stick out there and pray. He was terrible last week, but had the touchdown, the 2 yards, 2 yards per carry. Giants crapshoot. We like Slayton. And you're rolling with Barkley. All right, Tyler Huntley season, Steelers. Yuck. I mean, this might be start both defenses, right? What do we got here? I mean, the running backs for the Ravens and Steelers both ridiculously complicated. And I don't know if there's anyone I would be comfortable starting other than maybe the Steelers defense. Steelers defense I actually do like.
Yeah, I would go with probably either defense, yes. And Mark Andrews, possibly.
Yeah.
Think, he's going to continue to just be that big boy. And with a backup quarterback, it's going to be a pretty easy target to get.
Yeah.
Yeah. So could be good there. I still want to be a believer in Pickens, but he's just breaking my heart every week. I'd probably steer away from George Pickens this week. First time saying that in a while.
Yeah, I mean it's just a brutal match. I mean Deontay Johnson he might be the best play in this game, and that's disgusting to hear just because of the target share alone. All right. Well, I mean, God, there are a lot of low totals this week.
Yeah.
Crucial fantasy week, and it could be, craziness, just like goose eggs and duds everywhere, and then some could pop off. Chiefs Broncos. Kendall Hinton, I hate you. What one catch last week? Russell Wilson, Murray's a guy that you can, he's consistent, but he's nothing special. Pacheco has been solid, but where's this game going to go? Is it going to be throwing or just low scoring and running?
The Chiefs are going to do their best to put up the 43 points by themselves. Broncos will struggle to put up a field goal.
Yeah.
But, Latavius Murray, he's got 17, 10, and 10 in the last 3 weeks. He puts a touchdown on the board in 2 of those 3 weeks, and he's sitting at a solid 17 for three
Yeah.
straight weeks. I mean, who wouldn't want that as a running back? So I think there's that possibility he can do that. I think if the Broncos want to have any sort of success, they need to start leaning on that run game, set up play action, uh, work their way around this just terrible system and everything like that. Uh, the best receiver on the team right now is Greg Dulcich.
Yes.
I
Okay. Love
mean,
Dulcich.
uh, so Latavius Murray and Greg Dulcich. That's all I'm going with for the Broncos. But hey, at least it's something.
Yep.
A few weeks ago, it was absolutely nothing from the Broncos.
Who even
So
is the running back now? Freaking! Oh, sorry. Outside of Murray, I started Mike Boone, and he was a complete dud.
Boone, Marlon Mack, I think we have in that
Right.
backfield now. I do believe in Pacheco.
Yeah.
It's going to be kind of a tough matchup. I think Denver's defense is super good.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just have to see how well they can contain the Chiefs' offense when the Broncos' offense is going 3-and-out every time. So we'll see. But I think you start everything Chiefs side. You
Yeah.
start Latavius and Dulcich on the Broncos side.
Total of 37 expected. 49ers, Buccaneers, Tom Brady quietly doing it. Watch out, Super Bowl. I've been saying it, and everyone's been laughing at me for the last 8 weeks. Brock Purdy season, you said it, Mr. Irrelevant. Start both defenses. Fournette, Rashad White's interesting. What's the timeshare going to look like ahead? Mike Evans. What are we doing? What are we doing there? Godwin's starting to catch up. 49ers, you're starting McCaffrey, and then you're hoping, Debo gets involved.
Yeah, I think you got to start giving up on Evans. I've been sitting here waiting for forever for him to just even do remotely half of what he was doing the past year or two. He just hasn't done it. Rashad White, the only real thing that saved his week last week was he got into the end zone.
Yeah, on that game winner.
Yeah, Lenny, he's just been relatively quiet. I mean, this whole offense has been quiet. But I'm not starting much out of this game. But you just watch when Brock Purdy pulls this off, beats Tom Brady, and helps these 49ers get all the way to the playoffs and wins
Super
a couple
Bowl.
playoff games. He's not going to get to the Super Bowl, but he's going to win a couple playoff games. We've got a new Tom Brady on our hands. Mr. Irrelevant to this stretch. You just watch. It's going to happen.
I read the scouting report, and it's like he throws short, doesn't have a good arm, but he's a manager. And that's all you need. I spent a pretty good amount of my fab to pick him up to start him in a super flex quarterback league because I have Kyle Allen who just got benched. All right. Well, this is I got to start sit for you because this is pertinent actually to one of my teams that I need to win. Mike Evans or Hollywood.
Oh, Jesus. Those are your only options?
So it's a flex. So I'm starting Kirk Devonta over Mike Evans. Mike Evans is in my flex. I don't have a running back to save my life. So I've got either Mike Evans, Hollywood, Slayton, or Michael Gallup.
Ugh.
And it might have to be Evans.
Dear Lord. Yeah. I mean, but that's the only matchup that is like not good because San Francisco's defense is really good. I would venture to say maybe toss Gallup out there
That would be, yeah, that was
against
the one guy I was looking at.
Houston. I mean, there's that high possibility the first half he gets some sort of big play, maybe he gets a touchdown. Uh so honestly, I would be most comfortable out of all of those guys with Michael Gallup.
Yeah. I mean, Gallup, he had the 2 touchdowns against the Colts, but if he did, I mean, it's hard to take away 2 touchdowns, but take away those 2 touchdowns, 4 receptions, 23 yards.
Yeah.
But again, Evans hasn't done much better, so it's interesting. And I think the Bucs are just going to want to run and make Brock Purdy do so. I mean, this looked like a typo. No Marshawn Lattimore, 4 targets for Mike Evans. What? Come on, what was that? He's
It's honestly kind of what was last year, except for last year, those 4 targets were money targets of like
touchdowns. Yeah.
touchdowns. So I think we're just seeing that regression out of Mike Evans more this year than last.
All right, you know what I'm doing? I just made the switch. Michael Gallup, Mike Evans, last 4 games under 60 yards receiving. Not great. All right. Let's 3 games left. Panthers, Seahawks, matchup of clouded backfield. Start Geno. Receivers have been great for the Seahawks. Panthers are a joke. I'm probably gonna have to start Foreman. Who know is Kenneth Walker gonna play? Is DJ Dallas gonna play? And if Kenneth Walker doesn't play, it's just gonna be a mess.
Yeah. If Kenneth Walker doesn't play, I mean, it probably won't affect me. I'm already out of this, out of my league, and that's the league I have him in. But I'd love to see him in and get, play spoiler for this week.
Sure.
So hopefully he does play. Yeah, I mean, just the other side of this game. I don't. I kind of want to play the running back, but that's sketchy. But that's about all I. That's about all I would want to do. And then on Seattle side, Geno, DK, Noah Fant. Noah Fant is even somebody that because I have to figure out something to do for my tight end, and he scored a touchdown last week, so maybe, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, if the Panthers are throwing in this game, Foreman's toast. And yeah, I mean, DJ Dallas maybe, but it could just be a mess.
Dolphins. I feel like it's going to be more of a mess.
Yeah, exactly. You got Homer in there. You got a guy with Jones. I heard a crazy story. Jones was the running back who was in there, and he plays with contacts, but he lost one, so he just took the other one out, and he was playing legally blind, running the football. That couldn't be. That's probably top 10 scary things in life to be doing. Dolphins, Chargers, battle of Tua versus Herbert. We finally decide who should have been picked first, right? This game will decide it all, right? Storylines.
Totally.
I kind of like the Chargers, though, for what it's worth. Justin Herbert's finally, turning it up with all his weapons again. And, of course, it doesn't matter because my team that has him absolutely stinks to high hell. Should be a great fantasy game, though. Over-unders 52. You're starting a lot in this game outside of maybe the Dolphins running backs.
Yeah, that's too messy of a situation for me because you saw Mostert get back in there last week and you didn't see really much of Jeff Wilson. So it's just all over the place in that backfield. Too hard to keep up with. But look out for the Chargers. Yeah. I think finally getting back to full strength, not defensively. Defensively, they're still pretty banged up, which is going to make this a fun fantasy game. But that offense very sneakily could start pushing the ball down the field, maybe break a couple of big plays. If I had to pick just one from each position on both teams, I'm going to skipping the running back, going Tyreek, and I'm skipping the tight ends. I'm going, we're going Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler. We'll go to Keenan Allen. He's finally actually playing and hasn't come out really. So I think he's safe to keep in there. And maybe Gerald Everett out of this game.
Right.
quite possibly. I don't know. Is Josh Palmer considered a tight end or a wide receiver?
A receiver. That is a
Receiver.
great
Okay.
question though. Where am I at here? Yeah, Everett had a 13-point game. He's 5 for 80. I mean, he was getting big yardage there. Yeah, Carter, you can sit bench now that everyone's coming back. Mike Williams
Yeah.
might be back. Keep an eye on. Yeah, I think that covers it.
Yeah. I
And
mean, there's a lot to play in that game.
right, yeah, not so much. Yeah, not so much here. Patriots Cardinals take us home Monday Night Football. Ramondre, James Conner starts. You're starting. I've got another Hopkins question for you. It's in a shallower league, but you're starting Hopkins. Hollywood's a little bit. We just talked about that's questionable. Rondale Moore questionable. Whether he comes back. Those three haven't played together ever yet, so that'll be interesting. Murray off a bye, and yeah.
Uh, you know, I think very sneakily the Cardinals could win this game. I'm
It's
going
basically a
with
pick 'em.
Yeah, I'm going with the Cardinals. I think Connor's going to have a good game, as is D Hop. Kyler, I think, is going to struggle, but that's just because he has been struggling this year. I think they still find a way to get it done. I think Stevenson really is the only thing you can start on the New England side. And yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the reason I'm leaning Arizona because I find more people on their team I could start in fantasy than I could for New England.
And the Patriots are in disarray. You've got the viral moment of Mac Jones yelling at Matt Patricia to run the fucking ball. Kyler Murray, I mean, yeah, if he's chasing points, he's gonna find a way to get you fantasy points here. But the projections, at least for ESPN, have him, kind of like boom or bust right at that 17,
Right.
which is interesting. But yeah, I certainly think Kyler can have a solid game. He's been kind of right around that top 12 quarterback, hasn't cracked the 10, hasn't left the 15. All right, here's my question for you. All right, so this is an 8-team league. So, my team's this. I don't even know how this is possible. I'm 5-8. I am 5-8, and I'm the second highest scorer in the league. How is that possible?
You always got to hate that.
Yeah, terrible. Anyway, so I've got let's see here. Dalvin Cook, Saquon as my running backs. Receivers, I've got CDT, CD Lamb, T Higgins, and then I've got D Hop right now in the flex. Would you go D Hop or Kenneth Walker if he plays?
Mm, I'd go D Hop. I think this is a game that D Hop, in order for the Cardinals to win, he's going to have to catch 10 balls and probably a touchdown and 100 some yards. So I'm going D Hop there. As much as I love Kenneth Walker,
Yep.
I think even if he plays this week, it's going to be probably limited, probably could re-aggravate it, come out. So I think D Hop is the safer play there.
Right. A little bit of worry there with the injury for Walker. And then you're probably going to think this is easy, but I originally had Zeke in there just because I think he's going to get a touchdown and 20 touches.
Yeah, I would.
Zeke or Hopkins?
Um, That's a good one. But I would probably still say Hopkins.
Yeah.
Again, I feel like in order for them to win, he's going to have a good game. For Zeke, there's not necessarily they don't necessarily need him to win this game.
Right.
It just depends on when are they going to pull the starters.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
by starters for the running backs, I mean that is also Tony Pollard in that mix. So when are they going to pull those starters? Who's going to be the guy, and is it really going to be that fantasy relevant? I think they'll both get a touchdown.
Yeah.
But I still think D Hop is going to outscore there.
Yeah, I think D Hop's just going to get a ton of targets. What it's worth, I mean, freaking Zeke, 15 or more fantasy points in 5 straight games, and that is included. Well, he missed 2 games for injury too. Like coming back from injury and still picking up where he left off is kind of crazy.
Well, and he got to jump in his Salvation Army bail again this past week. So
the signature touchdown machine. All right. Good stuff. The machine himself, Ricky Larson, Lucky Shots Media. Good stuff. Critical week for fantasy football. Good luck in your matchups, and we'll be here for you guys for those that make the playoffs. Good stuff, my man.
See ya.